Yeah, so this is just some thoughts that I have on my experience with reading Carl Jung's autobiography, Memories, Dreams and Reflections. So it's not a review, I'm not reviewing his work or anything like that. I'm just talking about like what it meant for me and my experience and what I've learned from reading this book, this amazing book. So this is an autobiography that he did at the very end of his life, and it was narrated to someone as spoken word, and they translated it to text. So he really was at the end of his life when he wrote this, and it kind of is in a way his life story. He goes back to his childhood and stuff, and you know it was about, I read it about 2 or 3 years ago. At least 3 years ago, actually. So this is not like super fresh or anything. But the reason I wanted to do a review, well, not review, a video on this was because of how incredibly influential this book was on me and my thinking and stuff like that, and just my self-perception and the way that I perceive the world. If I do have a list of like top books that have changed me or my perception, this would potentially be a #1 spot. I don't claim to be a Carl Jung expert. This is actually, I admit, the only Carl Jung book that I have read in full. I have another Carl Jung book which is Man and His Symbols, which I am going to read. I confess I haven't read it yet. And I just get a lot of information about Carl Jung online, but I did read this book and I did love this book. And this is where I first learned of the concept of synchronicity, which is one of Carl Jung's most important, most powerful like terminology and things like that he's ever done, in my opinion. And a synchronicity is something so simple. It's something that just is, and is something that goes beyond like objective explanation. For example, it's a meaningful coincidence. I think that is the way that it's described, as it's a meaningful coincidence. And it sounds very mundane, but it's an extremely powerful thing. And some people believe, I think maybe Carl Jung believed, that they're happening all the time. We just don't really notice it. I have a feeling that our ancient ancestors, for example, may have known and lived this stuff, and we've forgotten it. We've forgotten about it. That is, that the universe is alive with meaning all of the time. And I've had some just incredibly powerful and strange synchronicities that are just crazy, you know. And the objective, modern, Western, rational mind will say, but there's no reason these things could be linked, but they are. And they say, well, it's just a coincidence. Well, I say, well, I don't personally necessarily even believe in coincidences that much anymore. And it's like, why are these meaningful coincidences like real, and why are they so profound? Well, I do believe that like on a higher level everything is connected, everything is one. I believe that like the separation that we see between people and objects, places and time, space and time, I do believe inherently that is just an incredibly sophisticated, incredibly powerful illusion, a mirage, like a projection. So I believe on a higher level, this place or this thing that is projecting reality, everything is one, you know. And so that's why, even if it seems like something can't be connected on this level with our perception, it's like, it's kind of just like a magic trick almost. It's like you can't see the inner workings of the universe and of the things that we can't comprehend, but it does make everything interlinked, and we can see a relationship between things that don't seem connected but are, with synchronicity. You know, and Carl Jung gives some really good examples of ones that have happened to him. I believe there's the famous one of, famous for Carl Jung, people that like Carl Jung, which is the one of the I think it's the table. I think he said he knew that he was trying to explain that, I might be getting this wrong, he was trying to explain the concept to a friend of synchronicity. And I think he said something like, yeah, for example, I know that this table, he said something, I know that there's going to be a loud noise in a second, and then like the table that he had for like a long time, like just like snapped in half or something, like maybe the heat or something, just, it's like somehow he knew that was going to happen and he couldn't explain it. That's another thing with synchronicity, is being able to say that you don't know, that you can't explain, but it just is, like synchronicity just is, you know. So again, it really relates, fits perfectly well as well with my experience with astrology, which obviously is derided and ridiculed by most people now who know better than to believe in such silly things. You know, we're very clever now. You know, we know that our ancestors were really stupid and ignorant, and we can just forget all of the wisdom that they had and all of the ancient systems that they had, because we have like, yeah, because we're so clever, you know. But no, obviously I'm being facetious here, but it's synchronistic. I'm not saying that there is some magical power coming from Mars or Jupiter that is just happens to coincidentally be affecting you at the time of birth or on a certain day, and that it's just coincidence. It's like, it in a way, like it just is. Like, you know, they observed that, you know, if Mars was on the eastern horizon when a baby was being born, like that could be a fighter, that could be someone aggressive or brave. If you know, if Saturn was on the horizon or conjunct the sun, like that person might have a difficult life, that person might be very serious or very powerful, they might have a lot of struggles. They embody Saturn. Why is it? It just is. It's a synchronicity. And I don't believe it's a coincidence either. I believe that like the sky at the time of birth is a reflection of the life of that individual. And why is that? Well, we can't really say, but again, I believe that all things are connected. I'm going off on a tangent here a little bit, but it's like I'm saying, it's my experience and my what I've got from the book, which I think is so powerful, you know. So another one as well is Carl Jung's extremely powerful ideas, which is that of the unconscious self. And I visualize it like an iceberg, and we have these parts of ourselves in our life and our identity, personality that we like, and we're like, yeah, this is who I am, and this is what I do, and this is what I tell people. And we have all this unconscious stuff and unconscious fear and shame and baggage and things that we don't like to admit. And it's more hidden to us, but it's still there. And the more you eliminate this unconscious, the more awake that you become to your whole self. And you can't really know your whole self, your spirit, your soul, even the mind, if you're not brave enough to really look at that unconscious. If you keep batting things away that are uncomfortable, nope, that's not true. No, like it's going to haunt you. So Carl Jung, you know, really spoke about that unconscious and how powerful it is, and it's really running people's lives and is running the world. You could say ruining people's lives, ruining the world, this unconscious that has not been brought to light. I really believe that people that have maybe suffered more and made more mistakes and have been, because what happens is that forces you to go inward, it forces you to look in and go, what am I doing here? Like, why am I doing this stuff? Why am I hurting myself or hurting other people, or just being, you know, ignorant or irresponsible? Like, why have I messed things up? And that will cause the individual to go in, if they're brave enough, and see like, well, what's going on? So I do feel that like going through tribulations and difficulty and pain, mistakes, that does kind of force a person to be more likely to get to know the unconscious, whereas people who are more able to live a life unexamined those things just work, you know, like the life just works and they're getting on, it's fine, you know, they're good at education, got a nice job, nice relationship, job's going good, got a nice wee house, everything's chill, no major problems. Everybody suffers, of course, and a person can have all of that stuff on paper and still not be happy. And a person can have all that stuff and in the future it might get taken away from them. You don't know, but there are people that are more on the steady track of life that haven't necessarily had to you know, really shine a flashlight, a torch into the unconscious. I almost think that those people are more dangerous, and those are the ones you gotta watch out for, because they don't even know their own demons. They don't even know. They would deny that they have them. They deny their own shadow. They deny their own darkness. I would much rather spend time with someone that knows, and like, yeah, like, I made some mistakes, I've done some bad stuff, I hurt myself, I hurt people. That's what I've done, or that's what I do, you know? You know, like, a guy I watch on YouTube, I think he said, and this is like, I didn't come up with this, but he said, like, he's like, I'd rather hang out with a bank robber than hang out with some, like, kind of fake plastic spiritual person. It's like, oh, it's all love and light, you know, namaste, whatever, like, you know, someone who would never admit to making mistakes, or to getting angry sometimes, or to ever hurting anyone ever. Someone that's just so, like, just maintaining his perfect image. He's like, I'd rather hang out with a bank robber. It's like, yeah, I rob banks, than hang out with someone that's like, has the veneer of being perfect, but isn't even willing to confront their own shadow. So I resonate with that highly, and I would agree, you know, I would say that person that seems perfect on the surface, like, in a way, their darkness is potentially even greater than someone or the bank robber, you know? And it's what's more dangerous because it's unknown, and when it's unknown, it can take control, because you don't understand it, and it can drive you in ways that you don't understand. But when you get to know your own unconscious, it allows you a greater level of autonomy within your own mind. So yeah, and then another concept I really liked, which was, you know, he spoke about when he was a kid, that there's almost this other personality coming through, this other part of him, where, like, he was this kid living in Switzerland, and he had this other part coming through that was almost like older or more mature or more wise. And it seemed almost, I don't think he said exactly that it was like a past life thing, or if it was like his higher soul or whatever, but it was almost like he had his life, like mind in that life, and then he had, like, he tapped in somehow to this greater self, this higher soul, or maybe some past life they had, where I think it seemed like it definitely had a more Saturnian quality. Like, I think he said that other personality was more like serious and old, like an older man, like someone important, who and it was almost like there's this dichotomy between like his more powerful or higher kind of level of mind that came through, and then like his actual one that he was living, which is interesting. So I don't know if that's like, you know, I don't necessarily love the expression like old soul or whatever. I don't necessarily believe in time in that way, but something where he was, I don't know, for him it was easier for him to just tap into something greater, like something different, and not be so locked into like his own mind in this particular lifetime. And that's a concept that, you know, it's obviously that's one of his more strange ones, and that's one of his more out there ones, and it's one of his more hard to understand things. But one of the great things about Carl Jung is like you're not necessarily going to understand it right away. Like, you could read his books over and over again, and I'm like, you're always going to arrive to it with a fresh understanding and a deeper understanding. Like, it's a mystery that keeps unfolding. You might get something from a quote of his or whatever, but you can always go deeper in your understanding. You can always go further in and look at things from a different perspective. so yeah, you know, I just really, it's just such a powerful person in my life, and you know, I need to start reading more, because I really want to start reading more of his books. Like, for example, Man and His Symbols. You know, when I look at a photo of Carl Jung, like I feel an energy, like it's like a good feeling. Like I don't know what it is, but I just believe he is a very special person, and yeah, so that's just my thoughts on what I can remember from Memories, Dreams and Reflections, which I read about 3 years ago. And it definitely changed everything for me. So I will go back and read it again at some point. I do recommend everybody to either read, like, this is a great introduction to Carl Jung, because, well, for me it was. A lot of his books and stuff, like, it is quite heavy, it is quite esoteric, you know, obviously not exclusively esoteric. There's a lot of, like, more traditional psychology, psychoanalysis and stuff. Like Carl Jung, I feel like I had like one foot in more spiritual things and one foot in the more analytical, psychological world as well. So he was kind of in both worlds, which I think made his you know, his work so powerful. You know, so that's just my thoughts on my experience with reading Carl Jung, Memories, Dreams and Reflections, an autobiography. So yeah, thanks for watching.